Texans GM Nick Caserio speaks on all the trades he's made. He kind of hints that this year's draft could be the same as last year's. Plus, he kind of shows his favorite guys in a hilarious uniform leak drama. Let's relive it all inside the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what
Hilarious,
we really
entertaining, insightful day in the world of the Houston Texans. Week 2 of free agency has begun. Nick Caserio has spoken on 3 of his trades. He's also kind of given us a little bit of information that could lead us to believe what he has planned in the draft, as well as who his favorite signings are. Plus the uniforms. We knew that it was kind of making the rounds. The uniforms, at least one of the 4, they get on the internet, and then Cal McNair responds by just completely releasing that uniform. And there are different there are different types of reaction to it. We'll get into that as well. Let's hear from Nick Caserio first, though, the GM of the Texans. He spoke on the trades that he made. And the Keenan Allen trade didn't really come up, but he spoke first on the Malik Collins trade and what he thinks about the state of the D line and what he thought about Malik Collins on Sports Radio 610. This was Nick Caserio speaking on the Malik Collins trade.
In the Malik situation, there actually had been different types of interest in the player at different points going back to last year and then even during the course of the season. But, we felt that, keep Malik on the team last year was the best thing for us. And he helped our football team and did a number of good things. So our job is to evaluate and assess and listen. That's part of my responsibility to the organization. That's my responsibility to the staff. And in the end, take the information. Whatever decision you make, you're comfortable with whatever the result is, whether it's releasing a player, whether it's signing a player, whether it's trading a player. So I would say in Malik's situation, there's an opportunity for him to go to a great program or great organization with Kyle and John. And then we felt in the end that was probably the best thing for him and the best thing for us. So that's why we made the decision that we did with his situation.
There you go. And it doesn't seem like he's really sweating too much the Malik Collins thing. It made it seem like perhaps there was an opportunity to get rid of him as well. As far as the state of the D-line, this was Nick Caserio talking about the state of the D-line. It seems like he likes these interior guys. I don't know. Y'all tell me if it sounds like Caserio likes them.
Yeah, I think what we try to do is just create some front flexibility. So we have some guys that can play in the end of the line of scrimmage. We have some guys that are specifically interior players. We have some players that maybe have some outside-inside flexibility. So I'd say we have a lot of players that have a lot of experience, that have played a lot of football. Even on the inside. Fadakasi has started 33 games over the last 2 years for Jacksonville. Settle played 400 snaps last year. Khalil gave us some, 200 or 300 snaps last year. And then we have some guys that can kind of float inside that play on the perimeter as well. As a matter of fact, we're kind of working through free agency. Let's say there might be a player or two that pops up where we can add them to the group. So we're going to play 8 or 9 defensive linemen. D'Amico has said this, it starts at the front. So we're just trying to create as much flexibility and optionality in front as possible.
Yeah, and they're going to add guys. And Tad on cue. Shout out to El Paso and Missouri for checking in. Locker room, #1 source for Texans digital content. Pretty funny how everyone wants a wide receiver, and we got a guy named Foley and Kurt Heinisch at the heart of the D in a moment. Look, they're going to add defensive linemen. I think if you're a lead on the edge, it can make the D lineman's job easier. You lost Malik Collins, you lost Sheldon Rankins. That sucks. But I didn't look at this team and say, this is a squad that is really, really strong on the interior of the D line. I didn't think they were bad. But I didn't look at this and say, man, they really have a strength there. I think they can figure it out. They're obviously going to add some guys. I think they do need a wide receiver for sure. I think that should be their main priority. I think they need more weapons at this point. Obviously, they've invested in the defense, but I think they do need a wide receiver. They need weapons on offense. Period. I don't think you can assume that the best is yet to come with Tank and with Nico. I think you have to add, and they tried. Keenan Allen, should they have made that move? If you listen to the reports, it seems like they were willing to go with a third rounder, but it was maybe, next year. Had they offered a third round this year, would the Chargers have taken the deal? My crazy theory, and this came from talking to Stooch yesterday over beers on St. Patty's Day. Shout out to Cody Stooch. Shout out to Houston Football, best subscription you can have, and he is the king of the stream. Jim Harbaugh, on one hand, you can say he didn't want a team that could potentially be competing in that tier in the AFC with him to have a competitive advantage. But on the other hand, because Jim Harbaugh is a loony psycho, maybe he's got so much Michigan in him, he didn't want to help an Ohio State quarterback. Those are the two theories that are going around. But had they gotten Keenan Allen, where is Keenan Allen on best receivers? I mean, you look at his numbers last year, he had over 1,200 yards, top 5 in the league. Is adding Keenan Allen, does that make him your top guy? I don't know, but clearly that kind of shows how much they value, if you trust this front office, how much they value the wide receiver. So it's cool to kind of put yourself on like an imaginary high horse and say, it's funny how everybody thinks, and I'm not picking on you, Tad, but it's easy to say that, but the reality is they've shown you that they think so too. And I think they're right. I think you do need a wide receiver. And I think eventually you're going to have to find a situation where you're having to make rotational guys work in some area. They're probably not going to have to do that because they have the assets. But, when you say everybody is saying they need a wide receiver, it's funny. Well, they're kind of saying it too, my friend. And I think they're right. So it's not just them, for sure. I also don't like this either. Collins and Tank were both third rounders. Nick can find a decent wide receivers in the mid draft, bro. Yeah, we could do that with every position. You could do that with every position, but that's not the reality. You can point to finding a running back. You can point to every position and do that, but you make the strong investment more times than not, it's going to happen. We could do that with any position. You want to do that with D lineman, you probably do that with D lineman. You can figure something out there. So maybe he can find them. He's done pretty good. He's done pretty good in the draft on day 2. And both of those guys. And I think Nico Collins was actually a second rounder. If I'm not mistaken. I know Tank was third, but Nico was third. You're right. They traded up for third right there at 89 on the edge. So yeah. They can find them, but you could probably say that about any position. What do you want Tyler Boyd for? You're not the only one asking. Why do people want Tyler Boyd? Ryan Crossingham asking, can the uniform model play slot? Let's take a look at him. I'm telling y'all, that was the most awkward thing for me because I was at this thing. You're not supposed to say anything about the uniforms. When they unveiled them, 4 of these models walked out. And quite frankly, he's not even the smallest one. The guy's wearing a necklace. How many fines is that with the uniform, please? It was hard to assess the uniforms. And if they would have, I think they were actually recording us when they walked out. I wish they could pull up the footage of me because I was laughing my ass off. And even afterwards, we were talking about that. We'll get some more into that. Why do we want Tyler Boyd so much? Do we want Tyler Boyd and another receiver? Why do people want Tyler Boyd so much? How do you go from Keenan Allen to Tyler Boyd? The Bengals had Tyler Boyd and Higgins, and they drafted Chase. He's been their distant third. I don't know why people want Tyler Boyd so much. The background, that was the building that it was in, sir. I know it looks weird, but yeah, that was the building that it was in. So yeah, it's weird. It does look like they're basically like at a crack house in the unis. But we'll get more into that and what Cal McNair decided to do. But I do think they need a wide receiver for sure. I also think that Nick Caserio has some favorites that he's acquired, and that's going to become very evident in a sec. But first, let's hear him on another trade that he made. This is Nick Caserio. I think they need another running back as well. They got their starter for sure, but this is Nick Caserio talking about avoiding having to recruit Joe Mixon and making the deal that he did to acquire him.
From the trade, kind of how it was consummated, you want to try, if you have conviction and you want the player, like maybe there's something you can do to get ahead of it. So with Joe, he was released. Likely he was going to be, I think he was going to be on the waiver wire probably the next day at 4:00, and then he would become a free agent. And then you would probably, there was going to be interest in Joe. Joe's a really good player. So there's going to be competition. So we try to get ahead of that. So we picked up the phone and we talked about it internally first. Like, number one, do we have interest in the player? Do we think he fits? Okay, we feel good about the player. All right, pick up the phone. Hey, would you guys be interested in trading the player? We'll give you, whatever the pick was. And we agreed to the trade. I think, and that's how we kind of came to the agreement. We're able to acquire the player on the team, and the commitment that we made to Joe. This is a player that has been a very consistent, very productive, very durable player. From a football player standpoint, we felt this is a player that we wanted to be a part of our program here moving forward. You have to look at everything. You have to take each situation as it comes. Each player has their own specific profile. We have confidence that Joe is going to bring a lot, not only on the football field, but is going to do a great job in the community. And we were willing to make a commitment to him to be a part of our program here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. So the Joe Mixon thing was really just about, it was kind of an adjustment to not getting Saquon and kind of just avoid having to, and I think they probably would have had a good chance to, get Joe Mixon. But if you listen to the press conference, and I reacted to it, there's a video of that in the locker room archive. If you listen to what he said about Joe Mixon and what Joe Mixon said about them, he basically said that he wanted to feel wanted. And when you aggressively and you give up the 7th rounder for him, you're making him feel wanted. You gave him the extension, and you're basically making sure that happens without having to, for lack of a better term, recruit someone to come to your squad in the middle of free agency. Especially, and the other thing is, what if he says no? Then where the hell are you at running back? Assuming that Henry was going to do what he did, where the hell are you at running back? Like, if they hadn't got Mixon, let's say that they invest their time in trying to recruit Mixon to come here, and then he goes somewhere else. I know there's some people panicking about the D-line. What would we be saying about running back? It would be kind of a disaster. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with the Mixon trade. The one that I find the most interesting, though, and this is the draft day trade with the Vikings. And this is where I think the Texans might be, in a different way, but with similar philosophies, similar yet different philosophies. The Texans might be looking to duplicate the Will Anderson, CJ Stroud draft decision. Listen to Nick Caserio talking about the trade with the Vikings, and then I'll lay out my theory here, which might be crazy or it might make sense to you. This is Nick Caserio talking about the draft day trade with the Vikings.
We received a few calls about that pick. We looked at the information, and D'Amico and I, and again, we talk about everything. So no decisions are made in a vacuum. So based on the discussions that we had, and then based on the discussions that we had with Minnesota, when that opportunity was presented, we felt it made sense for us. So some of this is really just about positioning, pools of players or clusters of players. So probably anywhere from 25 to 40, you're going to probably have a very similar type of player. Would we have players that we feel comfortable with? Probably the answer is yes. But by the same token, if we were to move out of that, like, what's the opportunity cost of moving out of that pick? Moving back 19 spots or whatever it is to the top of the 2nd round there in the 40s. When you go back specifically to, let's call it that area, over the last few years, guys like Petrie, Maffei, Brisker, even last year, Laporta, Mayer, Bergeron, Musgrave, Branch, Jaden Reed. So I would say you look at those football players who have really made a significant impact on their football team. But if we happen to stay at 42, we're hopeful that we're going to be able to find a good football player or two that can help our football team. So when you take all the information on face value, in the end, we felt comfortable with the decision that we were making. Does it maybe potentially eliminate a certain pool of players? Potentially, but it doesn't mean we can't come back into the first round. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be good players available to pick. The discussions that D'Amico and I had throughout the course of the week and specific to this situation, we both felt comfortable. And so in the end, we made a decision that we felt made the most sense for us, and we'll kind of keep moving forward.
All right. So here's why I think this is kind of similar to the 2023 draft. And just bear with me here. You heard Caserio say that he and D'Amico Ryans had discussions, and based on the discussions, they felt that it made sense to trade back. You're going to have 2 second-round picks the next 2 years, so you're going to be able to stockpile picks. But focusing just solely on where they went in this draft, I'm assuming that when they were having discussions that they just kind of decided, okay, some guys like this guy, some guys like that guy. Maybe these guys aren't expected to go in the 23 range. Maybe it would be a little bit of a reach. So maybe we can set ourselves up for a situation where, based on our needs, we can get 2 guys. We can get 2 guys that we like. And you heard him say multiple times, based on our discussions. And we talked about this leading up to the draft last year. I actually did a video before the draft that said, could the Texans get Will Anderson and CJ Stroud, or the quarterback that they wanted? And the concept behind it is similar. Now, the assets are obviously different. Last year, you had a bunch of draft equity, so you traded up to get the 2 guys you liked. This year, you're trading back and setting yourself up in a range where you feel like when you pick in that area, it's going to validate selecting that player, and you don't have to choose between just one while adding an extra second rounder next year. That's the other thing. Caserio is looking at this in a 2-year window. He's told us that. So while you and I might look at this and say, well, now they have, 2 picks, but they're further back. So why wouldn't they be able to just get one of those guys at 23? Maybe they didn't think that guy was going to be there at 23, or maybe they didn't think that the drafting him would have been validated. So the 2-year window thing speaks for itself. You add the second round pick. But when the Texans last year, we're talking about, and I know this is how it goes. This is just common sense. When they're talking about what are we going to do at number 2, I would assume that the discussion was, okay, do we take the quarterback, whether it was going to be Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, or do we take this defensive end that we love that is the highest guy on our board? And I would assume, as they were having that discussion, whoever was in the room, like the fluidity of the discussion, they kind of decided, well, damn, we might be able to get both of these guys. So we could put ourselves in a position to where we can get both of these guys. So we're going to make a trade. Again, it's different. You're giving up more and you're moving up. But they set themselves up to where the discussions they were having and the 2 players that the discussion centered around, they were able to acquire both of them. What I'm assuming, based on what Caserio just said, and maybe I don't even think it's like that crazy of an assumption, is there's probably someone they would like to have at 23, but they probably don't think that's going to happen. So they probably started talking about guys, and maybe they're talking about a wide receiver. Maybe they're talking about Tavondre Sweat. Seems to be a popular discussion. Maybe they like a corner. Who knows? But they're probably talking, and they're like, we really like this guy, but we don't think he's going to go 23rd. And the other group is saying, well, we like this guy, this guy, this guy. And Caserio is probably saying, well, maybe we can get both of them. Let's trade back. Let's add the pick next year, the 2-year plan that we always speak of, and try to get our top 2 guys at an appropriate spot and make a move to do so. I think it's very possible. It's similar yet different to the concept that they put together last year when they got Anderson and CJ Stroud. And the other thing about it, and this is why I love day 2, because you're able to kind of assess what teams did. So the teams that are drafted in front of you have an idea of really what they need, because a lot of times you draft best player and you don't draft need. So if a team, like, their biggest need is a D tackle and they decide to take a receiver, chances are they're going to take the D tackle on day 2. You also get to kind of assess. You get to wipe the slate clean. You kind of trim a lot of the fat for lack of a better term. So you're taking off, 32 guys off the board, and then you can just bear down and focus. And I think it was Tad or someone mentioned, the success that Nick Caserio's had in day two. I know he likes to bring up Jalen Petrie. I wouldn't quite throw him in the mix with the players that he was mentioning. But he has drafted Tank Dell. He has drafted Nico Collins in round 3. He's drafted Christian Harris. He's done a pretty decent job of getting some day 2 guys. So that's just kind of, I think it's a similar yet different concept where you talk about the cost, which is what the actual cost of trading back or trading up is. And then you just kind of throw that out there. So yeah, I think I kind of like where Nick Caserio is coming from there. So we'll see how it goes with that. But I do like the idea of getting more day 2 picks. Now, whether or not you think that value was appropriate, whether you think it was the right time to do it, for me, if you're going to wait, there could be some rewards if the right player slides, but there also could be some risk in that you might need a lot of things to happen, and maybe it sneaks up on you, and what you would hope would happen would not happen. So who knows? Who do you want in the draft? I mean, we can watch day 1 and then have that discussion. That's the beauty of this. We've covered, talked about, discussed the draft for years now, where the Texans have multiple picks. Just kind of sit back and watch, figure out what's going on there. And I think that'll be interesting to see what's going on there. Eric's asking, what's wrong with Tyler Boyd? What's great about Tyler Boyd would be my question. I mean, Mr. Maz brings up a good point. He's better and younger than Woods. Okay, but do they like him as much? Is he as valuable in the locker room? And look, I don't know if Woods is on this team when the season starts, but how much better? What about Mechie and Hutchinson? What about them? They're going to be fighting to make the team this year. And I like Hutchinson. Mechie's a cool dude, been on the show. But yeah, do you think Troy Franklin would be a great fit for Houston if he's on the board? I like him. I don't know if he's going to be there. That'll be interesting. We'll figure out what's going on with that. Nick Caserio, he also on Sports Radio 610, he kind of made it clear, and we'll get to this uniform leak in a sec. He kind of made it clear who his favorites were. Before we hear Caserio talking about his teacher's pets, let's hear Caserio talking about the ones players who left. Blake Cashman, Jonathan Grenard earning that bread. How does Caserio feel about the guys that they lost?
I mean, great football players, great people. And, those are players that, we would have liked to have the opportunity to keep. We worked in a lot of those situations to try to keep them. In the end, it didn't work out. But certainly we're grateful for what they provided for our program. We have a great deal of respect for them. I mean, they worked hard. They were a big part of what we're doing. Their contributions were significant. So, I mean, honestly, you're happy for those players that they earned an opportunity, that they deserve what they received because of what they did on the fields. Certainly wish those guys nothing but the best. Our job is kind of keep it moving and just try to identify the right folks. Nothing but respect and admiration and appreciation for what they did last year. They helped us, win a championship, and, nobody can take that away from them.
Win a championship. We're doing that with the division title. I guess we can. You worked hard for it. So that's how he feels about those guys. What about the guys they signed? It was kind of funny because when Caserio was talking about Daniil Hunter, it was just kind of robotic. Yeah, good football player. He can help us. We kind of adjusted, and we brought him in, and obviously he's had a lot of success in this league, and he's going to be here. And you're just kind of like, all right, whatever. I mean, this is typical Caserio. But then he talks about Aziz Al-Shair, and he kind of lights up a little bit, and you kind of see who who Caserio perhaps liked, and this is just the appetizer. We're gonna get the main. It's clear who Nick Caserio loves, but here is him on Shire.
I'd say Aziz is a football playing Jesse. I mean, what did he have? 160 some tackles last year. I'd say, and this is out of like respectfully, Zaire Franklin is a damn good football player.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's some similarities, their play style, how they play. Aziz has a lot of leadership, has a lot of toughness. Obviously, he has experience playing in this defense and playing for D'Amico. I mean, this was a guy that if we had the opportunity to add to our team, quite frankly, like we tried to add him to the team last year and it didn't work out. And then we had to play against him. And I think he made every tackle in the Tennessee game. So, I mean, awesome dude. Like his story, I mean, not to get into his story, but like his story coming out of Florida Atlantic, undrafted, kind of how he got on campus. I mean, the more time you spend with him. Matter of fact, the coach that recruited him to Florida Atlantic is Nick Caserio. Nick Caserio and I were together in New England. I would say the fact that Aziz is where he is, I mean, honestly, it's a credit to him and his toughness and his resilience. The guy's a good football player, and we think he's, going to be a big asset to our team and our program.
His house actually burned down, and they were homeless for a while. It's actually a really crazy story that Caserio brings up. But you can tell he likes him, right? He loves him some Danico Autry, though. Listen to Nick Caserio. Listen to him lighten up. He kind of has to censor himself. This is Nick Caserio talking about Danico Autry.
I would say specific to Danico, I mean, this guy's a badass. I mean, this guy's a junkyard dog. Like, if you go into a dark alley, like, you want this guy behind you. Like, this is a bad MFer. I mean, and a really good football player who cares about football. And we've had to play against him over the last couple of years and, Tennessee, and then he was in Indianapolis, but glad he's on our side. And, we're excited about what potentially he could bring to our front.
The bad MF for the junkyard dog and a badass. Okay. It's kind of clear who Caserio loves. We'll get to the uniform leaks in a sec. Let's hear him on Kenyon Green, though. Let's get a little Kenyon Green update.
KG is probably as far along as he's been at any point. So, he's dealt with a lot. And I think he's excited about the offseason here. So I think this will be the first really offseason that he'll actually have the opportunity to train and actually go through an off-season program. So we're moving in the right direction, doing some things outside the building that are hopefully helping him become a better football player. So we'll do what's best for the player. We'll do what's best for the team with really the eye that, the most important thing is kind of making sure that they're ready to go for training camp. Certainly encouraged by the progress that they're making.
All right, there you go. By the way, Bishop, I'm putting you in timeout. That's a 5-minute nose in the corner. I'll bring up Brandon Cook's name in here. So yeah, that's Caserio and Kenyon Green. We'll see about that. I'll believe that when I see it. But that's Nick Caserio. You can tell who he likes, the trade mindset, all of that type of stuff. It'll be interesting to see what goes down in that situation. Odell for 1 year, no thank you. He's cooked, dude. He's not sushi. He's fish sticks. He's cooked. He's actually fish sticks you forget about that you leave in the oven for an extra 25 minutes. That guy's roasted. It's actually pretty impressive how meh he was, and Lamar still did his thing and got that MVP. So the jersey leaking hilarity of today, the Texans' new uniform was leaked, at least one of them. There's 3 other jerseys with the that will be released. This one, if I had to rank it, because now we can talk about it. I don't know why people were even saying that they saw him last week. But if I had to rank the uniforms, this one would probably be 3 or 4. 3 or 4, maybe. Yeah, not the best, not the worst, but it was a little bit ridiculous. And I don't know if the same person will leak the uniforms. I don't know what's up with that picture. Nobody brought their phone in there. It was I didn't see anyone. They had 2 different things. It looks like this dude just took it when he was maybe getting ready to go out there, because they weren't even against the wall when we went out there. So what happened with us was they said, all right, here are the uniforms. We got models. you look to your right, these models like walk. It's 4. It's 4 models for each jersey, and I think this guy was second. Yeah, this one was second. And I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting there laughing. I know they recorded it. If they could have recorded me and if they would have seen me and I think they were kind of recording the reaction, I was laughing my ass off. Y'all know how I am. I can't not laugh when something's awkward. So this was one of the 4 guys, and quite frankly, um, this guy wasn't even like the least intimidating one, and he really wasn't the one that was wearing his uniform as ridiculous as the others. I mean, look at him. He's wearing tube socks. He's got a necklace on. He looks like a kicker. No disrespect. I'm sure my man's in shape a lot, but I mean, there's a big difference between what an NFL player looks like in a uniform and that. So, yeah, this guy, these guys came out. They sat in front. They kind of showed the jerseys. Quite frankly, they showed us mannequins after, and they looked better on the mannequins than they did the models. So it was really, really hard. I told other people that were there, man, I don't know if I said it on Twitter. I think Fairbairn will be giving this guy wedgies in the locker room and making him carry his pads. That it was very hard to imagine an NFL uniform with this guy in it. Quite frankly, no disrespect, but then I guess because it was leaked, Cal McNair decided to put these out, and as you can see, they look a little bit better on the players. Now, a lot of people are saying these are Atlanta Falcon uniforms. Yeah, they do look like Atlanta Falcon uniforms. Since we can actually talk about this, as far as the jersey itself, I don't know. If they would never not wear the red helmet if it were up to me. I'll just put it that way. For me, and I think the one thing that there's some traditionalists and there's some people who, want as new and as flashy as possible. I think they're going to be able to pull these off, but if it were me, they're never not wearing the red helmet. The red helmet is the helmet. You can put the same logo on there and all that, but the red helmet would be the red helmet. So that would be my one thing with the uniforms. As far as these, and these are all I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to describe the other ones. These are in the bottom half. I don't know. It's for me. These would be maybe two or three. I don't know, but I would never not wear the red helmet. That's just me. It definitely does look Atlanta Falcon-y. The blue you can see clearly changes. It looks black. They're very insistent that it's blue. That's black. I don't care what they say. That's black. But yeah, I probably would have leaned. I would always lean red because I like the red. No doubt. Frank G says I'm a downer. Downer on what? Talking about the uniforms? What do you want me to say? Are they the best uniforms ever? Give me some analysis, Frankie. I want analysis on the uniforms. You don't want a whole thing. Let me know, bud. What you think? Because I'm seeing a lot of people saying this looks like the Falcons. I'm looking at the comments. I'm looking at all this. So, yeah, break it down for me, my friend. Frank G. What do you want me to do? You want me to wear a effing face mask or what? Let me know. No, I think they can be nice on the players for sure. Yeah. Sosa says they suck. There you go. Yeah, I saw the red edit. The red edit was nasty. D Texans probably should have just done the uniforms. That was nasty. There's a lot of detail on these that you can't really see that they'll give the they'll give detail. Like as far as buying the jerseys, I think you're gonna appreciate some of the detail that comes with it. I can't really break it down, and quite frankly, if I was breaking it down, you wouldn't be able to see it. But yeah, I think you'll see what it is for sure. Yeah, the red looks sick. The D Texans won the edit. Look nasty. Um, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I don't know what's negative about these uniforms. I don't really know. Let's see what Frank G says. You don't want them to look too busy. They're clean and simple and a hell of a lot better than the uniforms that we had for the last 20 years. What's that got to do with anything? And you don't know what I want. I mean, and I don't think you know what everyone wants. I mean, I was in the fan council meetings where they were talking about what they wanted. There's a portion of people who didn't want to change the uniforms. There's a portion of people who wanted Oiler colors. There's a portion of people who wanted a little bit of mix of everything. There's a portion of people that wanted the helmet to stay the same. There's a portion of people that wanted a red helmet. There's a portion of people that didn't want to change the numbers. They wanted the old number style. There's a portion of people that wanted all whites. There's a portion of people that wanted all reds. There's a portion of people that wanted all blues. What do you mean you don't want them to look too busy? You ain't gonna tell me what I want. That's the point. The point is they're trying to cover all the ground. They're clean and simple and a hell of a lot better than the uniforms we had for the last 20 years. I don't disagree. I think anytime you have a change that's 2 decades long, there's going to be adjustments. But what do you want me to say? That's what you want. Say I don't want, not you. You ain't speaking for anybody, buddy. Speaking for yourself, sir. There was no synchronized thought on these uniforms. That's the whole thing. So we'll see how it goes. Some people don't like the numbers. Shout out to D Nice. What's up, my friend? So we'll see how it goes. And it'll be interesting to see what the reaction is. I think it's probably going to be 50-50, but it damn sure, I think we can all agree, including Lord Frank, who knows what everybody wants when it comes to the uniforms. I think we can all agree that it looks a hell of a lot better on the players than it did that model. You can figure it out. Now, this isn't my least favorite. No, this is not my least favorite. I can promise you it's not my least favorite. My least favorite, it might be some people's favorites. This is not my least favorite. It's either 2 or 3, maybe. Right there in that range. I think they dropped the ball big time on one of them. For sure. Someone asks if that's Bear Blues. I'm not sure. Super chat, Scott. What up, Scott? Not big on the Columbia blue if that's in the color scheme. Just need to turn the chapter on that whole thing. We have our own identity. I kind of lean with you, although I do think a lot of people have kind of gone all in on wanting Columbia blue. I think that was perhaps a little bit more difficult to accomplish than anticipated. I think Amy Adams Stank, the owner of the Titans, not a fan of that, as you can imagine. But yeah, the Columbia blue, a lot of people crossing their fingers for that. We'll see if that happens. Or if it doesn't, we should see. But yeah, it should be interesting. Black Rain, here we go. Exactly nothing like Atlanta anyway. So do what you want. Keep wearing the 24-year-old. I don't know what you said, sir. You might have 5 thumbs. I don't know what you just said, sir. No offense. Exactly nothing like Atlanta anyway. So do what you want. Keep wearing the 24-year-old ones. Okay. Not like Atlanta in any way. Okay. I mean, it looks black. The color looks black. It's not, but it kind of looks black. It was dark in the building, as you could see, with the original model. It was kind of dark. So kind of looked a little bit black, looked a little bit red. I don't know how it's not like Atlanta in any way. But hey, uniforms generate opinions. I enjoy them. I think it's good. I can't wait till they come out the 23rd. I think it's going to be fun to check out and see how this whole thing goes. You blind, look at Tank Dell, it's clearly blue. Brother, I was there. What do you mean? It looked black. That's not clearly blue. It might be blue. This is more light than they had. I was there. There's people in the organization that thought that it looked black. It's not. That's clearly blue. I don't know about all that. Cody Stutes in here. Hit the like button if you like the uniforms. Hit the like button if you hate the uniforms. Hit the like button if Frank doesn't speak for you. Yeah, that's a good idea. Hit the like button. There you go. H-Town dominance. It's clearly blue. Okay, buddy. You dominated that one. Clearly blue. You talked me into it, man. You talked me into it, my friend. Absolutely. 100% blue. But yeah, the model, the funniest thing was the model. And I'm glad that Cal McNair decided to kind of make that clear when it came to what exactly they were going with. But yeah, the uniforms are going to generate a lot of discussion. Definitely look good. Yeah, I mean it is darker blue, but you're not going to tell me that doesn't look black on first look. It'll be interesting. Steve says enough about the uniforms. How about timeout for Steve? Let's put user in timeout. Go put your nose in the corner, my friend. This was big news. This was the number one trending topic, and let's be honest, there's a little bit of a lull when it comes to free agency. So we'll see how the whole thing goes. I don't know whether you like them or not. They definitely needed new uniforms. Fortunately, you're going to have 3 more to choose from. The other thing is, who knows how much they wear this one. Some teams go wear different jerseys, colors at home. So I don't know that it's going to be split 50-50. So we'll see what it is. The helmet is the new color as well. So yeah, whatever color you think that is, whether you think it's clearly blue, whether you think it looks black, whether you don't know, the helmet, the blue is clearly a different color. So that's what it's going to look like. Joe asks, can we get white helmets? I guess you'll find out on the 23rd whether or not you get that. So stay tuned. Internet kind of broke. And we'll see how that goes. H-Town's dominance is obsessed with the color, man. Don't tell Landry you're going to say the helmet looks black too. It looks dark, brother. For sure. Definitely looks 23rd of next month is when they'll drop the next ones. I'm assuming, unless there's some sort of leak. Hell, you might get all 4. Maybe they leak the other 4 and you get the whole taste of that. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Nick Caserio seems like he's got a plan. It's similar yet different than last year. The new uniforms have dropped. The internet kind of split on it. A lot of panic with the when it was this guy, and then somewhat of a sigh of relief when it was these guys. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. Be on the air at 10 talking about all this, as well as some other stuff. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. All love.
Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not 2. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.